What's up, guys? Welcome to Forensic Friday, where I tell you one true crime case that was solved using forensic science, all while doing, that's right, my makeup. Today's video will be featuring the Et For Sights palette by RawBeauty Kristi and Colourpop. Finally, I'm doing something with this palette. I hope you guys are all excited. All the other products I'm using in this video will be linked in the description below. Please read the disclaimer. I am in no way, shape, or form a professional makeup artist, MUA, beauty guru, beauty student, nothing like that. I'm just the average girl at home like you, planning makeup and talking about true crime. What could be better than that? So if you love true crime and makeup, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of my future episodes. Let's get into today's case. So this all takes place in the central part of Illinois on a Friday night around 10 p.m. I'm not sure what year this happened in, but it was on a Friday around 10 when a driver discovered a car along the side of a main highway road that had been abandoned. And this vehicle had the lights still on, the driver's door was wide open, and the engine was still running, but there was no one in the actual car. So the person who discovered this decided to call the police and, get someone out there right away to see what the heck was going on, because there was no one in the car, there was no one around the car. So when the police arrived, they found a purse inside of the car, but there was no identification in the purse. And they said that the car seemed to be disheveled, which caused a little bit of concern for them. Investigators thought this was suspicious. When they ran the numbers on the plates, they found that the car belonged to a guy named David Swan. David Swan was a 34-year-old employee of the local newspaper. Police gave him a call and he told them that his girlfriend Karen Slover had borrowed the car to pick up her 3-year-old son Christopher, who had spent the day with his grandparents. But the car was found 40 miles away, nowhere near the grandparents' home. Also, the car was positioned facing in a different direction than she would have been traveling in. Investigators theorized that perhaps Karen had been kidnapped, or maybe she just ran away. So they started to ask family members and friends if there was any reason why Karen would leave, or if she said anything that would make them think that she would want to leave her life behind. But friends and family said there was no way that would ever happen, that Karen definitely did not just up and leave to start a new life, that she was actually really happy. She had recently got a modeling job and she was super excited about it. She had been telling all of her coworkers in the office about it, and she's just pretty much letting people know that she was, she might have this amazing new career that she was planning for. Karen was an aspiring model, and she had recently gotten a phone call from Paris International saying that they possibly had work for her out of state. So this was really exciting, obviously. 2 days had passed and still no sign of Karen. Family and friends grew increasingly concerned. Then about 40 miles away, some boaters on Lake Shelbyville noticed something really strange on the shoreline. They found what they thought was trash that had just floated up to the shoreline, but that was a little bit unusual. But actually, when they looked inside of the bag, it was a woman's head. Eee. Not looking great. Nearby, police found other trash bags with the rest of the woman's body parts. Dental records confirmed that the body was in fact Karen Slover. She was just 23 years old. Now, the bags were tied with duct tape. Inside of the bags, they found chunks of cement and cinders. This was consistent with the materials found on the floor of the car that Karen was driving that day. Investigators gathered that the killer tried to use the concrete cement to sink the body underwater, but the body's gases most likely raised it to the surface. DNA analysts found 6 dog hairs stuck to the duct tape, but there was no fingerprints left behind. Most likely, the lake washed away all of the trace evidence. Karen's autopsy report revealed she had been shot in the head 6 times with a .22 caliber handgun at point-blank range. Investigators started to think someone must have been really, really angry with Karen, possibly someone who knew her personally, just because the manner of death. Now, the last time anyone saw Karen alive was when she left work to go pick up her son. Her son had spent the day with his grandparents, and she left work around 5 p.m. Investigators believe that Karen was killed sometime between 5 p.m. after she left work and 10 p.m. when the car was discovered. Many different theories started to go around, including the possibility of a serial killer. Police set their sights on Karen's ex-husband, Michael, and he became their first potential suspect in the case. Now, Michael was the father of Karen's child, Christopher. While digging, investigators found that Michael and Karen's relationship was a very violent one. In fact, they talked to several different witnesses that said they had actually saw him be physically abusive with Karen and that she had told them about him before in the past. And the other thing was, Karen didn't get along with her in-laws either. They were the ones babysitting her son, baby Christopher, on the day of her murder. Michael had an alibi for the time of the murder. He was working at Cub Foods as a security guard, and he had actually busted someone for shoplifting, so the police had came down and arrested them and everything. So police was there. They saw that he was there working, so that was his alibi. So then investigators turned their attention to David Swan, Karen's current boyfriend. Now, while looking into David, they found out that he had been in trouble with the law before. He was caught impersonating a law enforcement officer and was put on probation for that. He also did some time in a mental ward as well, so David was pretty in the head. Karen and David had only been dating for a short time when police learned of a disturbing incident. So David had been involved in hunting and killing a deer, and he had took this deer back to his house and hung it over his swimming pool and used a saw or some sort of tool like that to clean and dismember the deer. Just so happens, remember, Karen was also dismembered. So police started thinking, maybe this is our guy, you know? He's out here, you know, killing deers like that and dismembering deers and cleaning them, although there's a lot of people that hunt and kill deers and they don't hunt and kill people. But, you know, they had to look at every single suspect and all of their options at the time. So they're thinking, you know, let's see, he has a criminal past. He is capable of dismembering things. You know what I mean? And David's alibi on the night of the murder wasn't exactly solid either. He claims to have been attending a friend's wedding rehearsal that night, but witnesses say that he showed up to the rehearsal dinner 45 minutes late. Now, the rehearsal dinner is after the actual wedding rehearsal. That was a whole 45-minute window that was unaccounted for. Now, Karen told her friends that she was planning to move to Georgia to pursue her modeling career. Was it possible that Michael had found out about this and didn't want her to leave, so that was the motive that he would kill her? So investigators brought in an FBI profiler to study David's past. I feel like all the crazy motherfuckers' name is David. But those are all the hot ones too also. Like hot and crazy. Oh my god, just like my fucking eyebrows. We're not going to talk about them today. We're just going to let them go. The FBI profiler said that he did match the profile of the type of person that could commit a crime like this, but investigators had no solid evidence to tie him directly to the murder. I know there's good makeup days and bad makeup days, but I feel like this is like... The homeless people broke into the new building that's being built next door to me, like a wall over, and I'm hearing all of their fucking arguments and conversations. I don't even have new neighbors. They're my new neighbors, I guess. Since they had no solid evidence to tie him directly to the murder, they were unable to obtain any kind of search warrant. In the interrogation, David denied having anything to do with Karen's murder, but police were convinced that he was their guy. After 6 months, police decided to interrogate David just one last time, hoping that he'd slip up and incriminate himself. So they really turned up the heat on him, and they just continued to question him about the 45 minutes that he was unaccounted for. Investigators questioned David for over 4 hours, and finally, at the very end of everything, he reveals the reason why he was late for dinner. According to him, he was 45 minutes late because he had made a stop at the ATM. So of course, police went to that bank because they wanted to find out if he was telling the truth. Did he really stop by the ATM? And they got the surveillance camera footage, and sure enough, just as David had said, he was there at the ATM. So they let him go. And now with David Swan cleared, police had no other suspects in the case, and they began to fear that Karen's case would go cold. So of course, they did what any good investigator would do, and they went back to the crime scene. Looking at the crime scene, it became very clear to police that there had to have been another vehicle at the scene. There was no way she was gonna walk all the way to where she was going, and there was some way that her body got transported, so there had to be another car. But police could not figure out who would have a motive and the opportunity to commit a crime like this. Now, Karen's ex-husband Michael had an alibi for the night of the murder, but his parents did not. Remember, they were the ones watching her son. Now, 51-year-old Jeanette hated her daughter-in-law and loved her grandson, Christopher. She was also unemployed. Now it's time to go into the palettes. But anyway, back to the story. Now, investigators believe that Jeanette had an unhealthy relationship towards her grandson, Christopher. It appeared as though Jeanette was a little bit obsessed, and she thought that Christopher was her son. She began breastfeeding him, you guys. Breastfeeding him. I'm trying to do the calculations in my head of why or how that could be okay. And I can't do it. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, I think the only way that that could be okay is if the mother was dead, pretty much. Like, not there, and the child was like dying and I was the only source of nourishment. Then of course, yeah, I would breastfeed any child, you know? I would just whip out my boobies and, you know, go for it, little guy. But I mean, that's uncalled for. I've never heard, oh my gosh, I've never heard. Jeanette, that's weird. A check of phone records revealed that Michael Jr. had called his parents 12 times the weekend of Karen's murder. Also, something that investigators thought was suspicious was that the Slover family owned a used car lot. Now, this used car lot was kind of like a dump pretty much, and it had 2 guard dogs. Neighbors told police that the Slover family barely went out there, like they never cleaned anything out there or did anything. It was just a big heap of junk that remained out there. So, but recently they had seen Michael Sr. and Jr. out in the car lot, like making the whole thing over, moving bushes, turning stuff upside down, moving dirt and concrete and all kind of stuff. So they figured, wow, finally they are taking care of the lot, and they are, you know, doing a makeover of some sort. Now, the lot was located just a mile away from their home. Investigators brought in a forensic geologist. They wanted to know if he would be able to find out if the concrete and cinder that was found with Karen's body came from the Slover's car lot. Forensic scientists placed both samples in a scanning electron microscope and exposed it to high energy radiation. Ooh, she's kind of cute. This magnifies the sample of the images up to 5,000 times more than their actual size. And visually, scientists thought the samples looked similar. They then grounded up the samples into a powder and bombarded it with X-rays to identify the chemical makeup of the samples. They concluded that the concrete found with Karen's body was consistent with the concrete found from the lot. However, it was not an identical match. It was just enough evidence to raise suspicion. Investigators needed way more, so they turned to a very unlikely source, the Army. At this point, it had been 2 years since Karen's murder, and police believed that the motive for the murder was the fact that Janet wanted to have baby Christopher all to herself. She wanted full custody of him, so she needed to remove Karen out of the pictures. The Army came in to help dig up all of the topsoil from the Slovers' 5,000 square foot lot. For 6 months, teams of investigators shifted through debris. Finally, they got a break when they found a coin that read Authentic Paris Sports Club. The jeans Karen was found in had the exact same buttons. As you guys can imagine, investigators were so happy. Finally, they had a clue that would lead them directly to the killers. They also found rivets that were consistent with Karen's jeans. Then they came across a different type of button. Now, this button was a plastic button that was covered in cloth, like the ones you would see on a shirt or a blouse. Forensic experts took a sample from the button found on Karen's blouse and put it under a comparison microscope. Then they compared the weave pattern on both buttons they found, and they found that the buttons were a match. Out of all 6 dog hairs, only one of the hairs gave enough DNA evidence to confirm a match. Thanks to forensic science and some good police work, Michael Slover Jr. and both his parents were convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to 65 years in prison. What do you guys think about this case and my makeup look? Please let me know in the comments down below. If you like videos like these, check out my last episode. I'll leave a link on the screen right here. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week with another Forensic Friday episode. Bye!